Hello and welcome back to whatever this is.
It's a character creation thing, surely.
Oh wow, okay, let me try that again. Hello and welcome back to the Character Creation Workshop. We are back today with, I'm going to stop saying back, today with How Do You Make Superman in Animite Tales? Now for those of you who don't understand any of these episodes, this is making a character using the tabletop RPG system that we've been playing on our channel, and yeah, it's the one that I've been making. I don't know why this is your first video, but welcome nonetheless. You are welcomed into the clan now. So, Animite Tales, Superman. I'm just going to throw it out. Superman, I'm going to have to throw in the way that I'm going to specify it. We already tallied up, and we're going to say that there are 6 specific things that make Superman in the terms of his powers, and then there are 2 things that make him about his main origin. So I'll get into it now. His powers are super strength, super durability, flight, high speeds, high senses, and then laser vision. Now, the high senses are kind of part of the whole X-ray vision and super hearing, but yeah. So those are the main 6. And the origin is obviously that he comes from another planet, and his planet is destroyed, and he's an alien. His physiology is different. He also has a weakness which is usually based on stuff from his planet, like the gravitational pull, the natural sun, and the radioactive material known as kryptonite. Now, I'm just going to throw this out there. I genuinely believe that there is an easy way to do this, and I have known this for so long that this is why I'm going first.
Go for it.
There are 2 powers. Photonic empowerment, where you literally gain power from being around light as you stockpile it in your body. There is a mutation to this power called child of sunlight, where you can't gain power from all light anymore, but you can only gain it from the sun. However, all of your abilities that you then have, you can then stay in your transformation, and it's no longer got a time limit. Instead, I guess you could say the stockpile lowers itself for every time that you use up an ability that was enhanced by the powers. So if you use increased speeds, higher amounts of strength, super dexterity, or even if you just keep getting hit by attacks that your body is able to, be durable for, only then will it lower down. However, obviously, if you're constantly in the beautiful warmth that is the sunlight, you basically stay at your maximum stockpile. The second power is flight. Which at first I was genuinely thinking about this, there are 2 different ways that it can go. Again, this system has an evolution and mutation system for superhumans and anomalies, where once you get to level 10, you can choose whether or not the power goes and becomes a better version of itself, or it just pretty much changes entirely. For flight, you have 0 gravity physiology, meaning that you're immune to any telekinetic powers and gravity abilities that affect you. We know that this isn't true for a lot of different variations of Superman, so it has to be the other one, which honestly makes a lot more sense when you actually know what the name is, which is called Meteoric Flight, which basically, the more amount of distance that you covered before you slam into something, the higher the dice value, and the higher the modifier for damage. You can pretty much just build yourself as a living locomotive that just slams into things and does damage all day long, mate. So with these two,
that's what Superman does a lot of the time.
With these 2 abilities, you can do a ton
of Steel Superman.
Fair enough. With these 2 abilities, you can do a ton of different things, but the biggest 2 are actually from Child of Sunlight. Stockpiling abilities have now recently had an update where the amount of points that they get, similar to Felix, not only increases their stats, such as super constitution, increasing their durability, super dexterity, meaning that they're quicker and more capable of reacting it smaller points in time, and super strength for super strength. However, they also increase other abilities such as flight height, power-based move speed, range, and damage from emitter-type powers. Flight obviously takes care of two of those things, as flight can increase the user's speed whilst flying, and also a certain distance off of the immediate ground. This would mean that whilst charged up into the sunlight mode power, Superman could have anywhere between 5 all the way up to 10 times the original amount of power that he would have with only flight, which obviously is just better. So those are the two main things. The other thing that comes under this is there's an ability called Living Light Source, which again comes from the photonic empowerment, which allows the user to shoot or generate light from their body, which can either be used to blind people temporarily, create just small amounts of light, therefore they can, glow in the dark, or even fire out actual dangerous beams of light that do energy damage. If you have this perk, and you also then have the Child of Sunlight, that changes to solar damage, which is a crossbreed. Crossbreeds, I think I already mentioned this in the last episode or the episode before that, but a crossbreed is basically when it does the same damage dice, but it actually counts as two separate damages. So for instance, I'd roll a d8 of solar damage. This means that it is a crossbreed between energy and fire. This means that if anyone has an energy immunity or resistance, they'll take fire damage instead, and if something has a fire resistance or an immunity, they'll take energy instead. However, if they don't have either of these resistances, then basically they take the damage, and if they get caused an injury, it's basically an injury that is affected by either taking energy, fire, or both damages at the same time. It's just an all-around really decent thing, but it basically means that if you had this character, you could shoot laser beams that are solar damage. Added flavour, you could state that they cannot be used anywhere from the body other than the eyes. That's pretty much my basic variation of Superman using those two powers. I know that was a lot for me to talk about for about 5 or so minutes, but that's pretty much what I've got. I'll then let you guys fight over who wants to go next.
So actually, I'm going to do it for Sam, because Sam, also known as Superman Sam, is probably got a lot more to say than me.
Not really. I've only got a way to make it slightly differently.
You disappoint me, Superman Sam.
I mean, if you want, I can tell you my way. That's mildly different. That is quite different. But
I know what you're going for, because I think you talked to me about this a while back. But yeah,
no, I did think of a different way to do it.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, go for it.
Okay. I suppose this would probably be better for Superboy, but this does attribute to Superman a bit. The way I went for it would be thermal armor and telekinesis. Or not. Because thermal armor means you give you impervious to emit, or at least take damage resistance for many attacks. Telekinesis for flight. There's tactile telekinesis, which he does have occasionally.
Yep.
Which is what allows him to more or less hold planes like from the tip, so they don't like rip off.
Yeah, because Superboy actually has like tactile telekinesis. Anything that he touches, he can lift the whole object from any location, and it like lifts up as if he was holding it from all locations.
Superman occasionally has this, depending on continuity. Occasionally they will joke about that. And pretty much, yeah. I think you do get super strength as well with telekinesis if you get a certain attribute. And you'd probably have to use kind of tweak telekinesis minutely. Change it from, you can't actually just use your mind to like lift things. It is, you have to only touch it and grab it, and maybe change it into, maybe change the damage so it can only come from your eyes or something. Or you just shoot out telekinetic beams. It's force beams. I guess maybe that's one way I thought you could do Superman, where he's got the main bits. He doesn't have the super hearing or his eye beams. He does have the super strength, the inability to get hurt by most things, and you just switch out Kryptonite for Animite in this game, which is one of the few things you just cannot get resistance for.
Mm. Well, unless if you're a human, but that's downright immunity.
Yeah, but you don't get resistance to Animite. You just take less damage from it.
Yeah,
just don't take the multiplier damage of it.
What about yourself, Alex?
Well, I think that, I mean, I'm still going with photonic empowerment. I think we're all in agreement with that. But instead of like pairing it with flight or having other kind of superpowers, I would have loads of unique attributes to photonic empowerment so I could basically have everything, because you can get plus to strength, dex, and con, but I would also have a unique attribute where that also counts for senses such as super hearing and super sight, and maybe also a bit of I think mainly just super sight and stuff, but also flight as well. Like that would be an added thing as well. Like so that you could have the thing that when you have no light source, you can't fly. That would be the thing with the flight, is that if you've run out of juice, as it were, you'd still be able to fly or have that have the abilities to it, unless you're nullified for both. So I would have it that with the photonic empowerment, you would have that as well, but it's intrinsically tied to it. So once you run out of juice, you fall from the sky, which can be a problem. And I would have a load of downsides, like I think the obvious one would be kryptonite, but in our case, it could be like Animite, where instead of like the regular damage you do, it could have like 5 or 6 times damage to you. So you basically have like these massive amounts of downsides from this thing.
Okay.
I'd say you
could have it that it doesn't actually have to hurt you. You just have to be within its presence.
You did come up with something similar to that at one point for a character that you were going to use for a campaign that we sadly never actually got around to doing.
Oh, wait, was it me or Sam?
No, Sam, because that's actually what the mechanic came up with, because Sam was like, what if I'm around Animite? I'll just like become slightly weaker or just feel sick or something.
Oh.
Because I think at one point it was just going to be Superman for a campaign.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's for the early stages of the revealing campaign almost.
It was the concept, because originally you wanted to still play as the character that you've got your eye set up on for the revealing.
Yeah.
But Sam at the time was going to play as basically a Superman-like character, which is pretty much Superman in every way, shape, or form, except from in name.
Not non-trademark Superman.
I was actually going to say, though, the only issue with that is that technically your build, Alex, already has sort of stumbled on to the first hurdle before it's even begun, because the system for unique attributes, as of recent, well, I say recent, it happened a couple of months ago. We added the feature that if a person has a superpower that grants them super stats, a unique attribute cannot grant them more super stats. Because A, it's unfair, and B, like, it has to come with some like level of sacrifice. Otherwise, someone will just go, oh, well, I'm super weak to this, but I have +6 on everything.
In that case, then it wouldn't be for super wisdom, because I would pair it then with that other ability, adaptable mind. No. Well, maybe. I mean, you could have it with ocular powers and have a unique attribute where it happens to your hearing as well.
I mean, I guess so. To be fair, the way that you could do it is you could have it that the way that you could do it.
You could add the weakness to red sunlight to that, I guess. You could add that could be like the downside. It has to be specifically yellow sun.
Yeah.
Means that if he ever does go off world, he could be entirely useless.
Let's be reasonable though. Like in most campaigns, unless if it is an interstellar one, you're not going to be in that situation where you're going to be playing in a campaign where the sun is ever going to be a downside. I mean, again, it really depends on the narrator, because sometimes narrators will only make and allow for downsides if they know that they're actually going to be at least a good percentage of a chance of actually being used. Like, the probability of them actually being utilized is above 1. Because I know I do it. I know that Bill has sort of been on and off about it, where he might not do it and he does do it. I know that for the original version of the Revealing campaign, I actually didn't care, because that technically you weren't set on a planet per se. So at the time, I was just like, it doesn't really matter, because your weaknesses come from your home universe, and you might not even be in your home universe. So it's just a kind of joke. But I feel like in a campaign setting that you know is going to be set in a specific location, and you know is never going to go off-world, some people might just go, no, I can't have that because that's really specific. I know way back when I did a podcast with Puff and Forrest, we were talking about downsides in other systems, and one of them was a system that literally created, like, what is your kryptonite, or what is your weakness to a power? And someone went, oh, well, my powers don't work if I'm exactly 30 feet underwater or deeper. And so at one point, because the DM at the time got sick of it, they actually had it that they went to a temple and this guy's powers didn't work. And he goes, wait, what? And he went, oh yeah, this is an underwater temple that is way below 30 feet deep into underwater. Just because you're not in the water doesn't necessarily mean that I still can't do this. It's like, that is so harsh. But I kind of would do that if
acceptable.
I kind of would do that if I knew that was going to be a thing. I mean,
obviously,
I mean,
it's trying to be really jammy with it. That's the thing. That is jamminess that I would do, but I wouldn't tolerate.
I'd definitely say that's jammy on the player's side, but I actually think in the narrator's perspective, that's actually really quite innovative. Like, it might seem like, oh, well, they had to, create a situation where they actually couldn't use their powers, but let's be honest, how many shows do that where they just go, oh, well, this superpowered character is out of commission for a moment, even having it as something as serious as their powers can't work for some reason, or that they are, incapacitated, or even something as silly as this character just decides not to do so. Like, either they are ineffective, or they just decide to go off and eat, or even that they've fallen asleep. There's tons of different ways that you can do it. But
I mean, I was going to say,
yeah, go.
For Red Sun, you could just have someone with energy manipulation do that.
I have an idea as well for a downside that kind of works. Like it says here, in the powers of photonic empowerment, if the user is hit by lightning, fire, or light energy, the user gets to roll advantage on stockpile if they succeed with SP. I would have it that is just gone for this Superman
with
character.
Child of Sunlight, I'm pretty sure it is gone. It's only fire and
that's
energy.
Gone forever.
It's only fire and energy after that, yeah.
Yeah, but
Still
even then, no
energy.
fire and no energy. Yeah. So
get powered from that.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a big sort of. That would be worth it if you could also get the power of flight in with that. But it's like it's just enough because you could like burn Superman, and you could strike him with lightning and he'll go down. There's nothing that says that shooting him with a laser beam. It's purely from the sun's energy, just by sunbathing. Yeah. And that would be the only way you could get it.
Has
he been taken down by lightning?
Yeah.
I remember
Shazam's
the woman.
lightning.
No, not Shazam's lightning, just the woman with lightning powers.
Oh, was Dead. Is it Deadwire or is it Livewire? Or is it?
Oh no, it's Livewire.
Livewire's dead. Not defeated him, but dealt
actually
damage
hurt
to
him
him.
with lightning.
Yeah. I mean, again, that was far weaker Superman, but still.
You know what? If it's canon in one universe, it's good enough for me.
Yep.
But yeah, I don't necessarily disagree with that. In the terms of voting time, let's put it to a vote. Whose do you think would be the easiest to implement with as little narrator questioning as possible? Mine,
I think
Sam's, or Alex?
I think definitely yours, Joe, because with mine, I think it would be like more accurate. It would be more fun to do, but there's so much fiddling you have to do with unique attributes and fitting everything together, especially if it's going to be like an anomaly where you have to deal with two separate powers. Then I think the mine's going to be way more difficult. And yours is just sort of like, flight, photonic empowerment, done.
I mean, I would definitely
maybe
let someone with this one. To be fair, I'd also let anyone with Sam's as well. Like, I was actually going to say, if I'm not allowed to vote for mine, I'd vote for Sam's, because the idea of like, oh well, the unique attribute is I lose all of the telekinesis except from tactile telekinesis, but I can then shoot pure concussive beams out of my eyes that are like, pure condensed beams of like pressure or gravity or whatever. Depending on ability or whatever. I would like that because that's interesting, the way that that's been done, and it's not necessarily giving anything without taking away some other stuff. It's forcing a power down a very specific route to basically shape it into the into the structure of or the shape of Superman or Superboy in Sam's case, because obviously you said that you were going to sort of more base it on that.
Kind of, most because I know Superboy, that's always been a thing with him.
Yeah.
Tactile telekinesis. Superman, it's kind of one of those things where it's very on and off depending on the writer and continuity.
Honestly, it's such a weird thing because I've never heard of him ever having it. But I've heard, but in Superboy's case, I don't think I've ever known him not to have it, because even in iterations that you think that, oh yeah, well he doesn't have it, they later confirm that's kind of how his super strength works. Because I know that there's like one line of dialogue in a specific series. I can't remember which one it is. But they said, oh well, isn't your super strength just like Superman's? It's like, no, that's not how it works. They don't say what it is. They don't call it tactile telekinesis, but it just goes, that's not how my super strength works. Sort of hinting at, by the way, like, our super strength are different. But yeah, in comics and other things, they do write it up as he has tactile telekinesis, whereas Superman's, as you said, they are a little dodgy on that.
Yeah, because like they made a certain point. Like if you've ever watched the cartoon, you make a point of that where he does try to stop a plane by grabbing its wing, and they say, and then the wing just falls off. He's like, oh damn, or like, oh, like, age appropriate thing. Where it's like, oh, I stupid Clark. That's kind of one of those points, is that depending on continuity, if he had grabbed the wing, it would have been fine. He does do in many other occasions in like the comics. Actually, to be honest, now I think about it, I think that might have been pre-Crisis Superman. He had tactile telekinesis.
Just pre-Crisis, he's just got everything.
Crisis is just God.
I'm also going to say this. This actually might not be a very popular opinion. This actually you guys might hate me for this. I'm actually going to say, in the terms of which is the most accurate, I'd actually have to say that Alex, yours is disqualified because that you used a unique attribute. Because I think with unique attribute, if you can get away with it with a narrator, you can allow almost anything. So technically, yours is the most accurate, but because that you just went, just unique attribute to get all the abilities that you want, that I'd say that's disqualified. So.
Well, actually, okay. Riddle me this. Not unique attribute, but not the unique attribute. What if we created an alien with alien physiology and have it as part of that?
There are two issues.
Technically,
two issues with it. I mean, technically, the first one is again, it's basically the same as the unique attribute stuff, similar to if you were to say anthropial as well, because the anthropial system and the alien system work on pretty much the same way as the unique attribute system works. You create a creature with ups and downsides equal to each other, and it basically completely rewrites the way that the character works. And I think that's a really cool idea, and I do think that you could actually make Superman that way. However, could it actually be done? Yes. Could it be done in a way that we can actually have in this sort of like voting contest system? No, because obviously, technically, as I said, if you hadn't, technically, yours would win, Alex, because technically, yes, if you just go, oh, unique attribute, then yeah, yours can be the most accurate because you can literally force it to be. However, in the terms of accuracy to the actual functionality of it, and the lore, you can do that with unique attributes. But when you actually are forced in that thing of this, oh, my unique attribute is slightly bending something just so that I can force this power to work this way, rather than just giving it more and more and more and more. I think that is a lot less special because you're just sort of like slathering it on, sort of the equivalent of like if I was to say, okay, so we just need to wash this dish. Well, if you just drench it in the soap, just fill an entire bowl up with soap. No water, just soap. Yep, it's definitely clean now. I mean, no one's really going to necessarily argue with the fact that it's definitely in soap. And in this particular situation, no one's arguing that technically with a unique attribute, just saying, yeah, it'll have a unique attribute to give him all the powers. Yeah, yours is obviously the most accurate. But I'd actually say what would make it the most, what would make it the most interesting? How could you imagine this build? I actually would say the more tricky one would be how to create one at level 0. Because I think that
impossible.
I think that would be the most difficult. I think you would actually have to have it that you are the young Clark Kent with really basic Kryptonian powers, or even a young Kryptonian with basic Kryptonian on-Earth powers, because I don't think that you could obviously start him off that way. In my personal opinion, there are other ways that you can do it, but I'd say possibly the best way to do it in that way would be flight and absolute strength, because absolute strength gives you passive super strength, meaning that even if you don't have the special anomaly power balance, you can still use super strength whilst you are able to fly. So technically balance isn't really massively needed. Stats-wise, I think he'd have to be either a pinnacle token character, or you'd have to be really explicitly careful with how you built it, because he's got like really decent like willpower, really decent vitality, incredible strength. He is quite quick. Even when actually, I think didn't they confirm even when he's nullified, he actually still has pretty decent martial arts capabilities.
Oh yeah, he works out.
Yeah,
he goes to the gym.
Depending on continuity.
Actually, yeah, no. To be fair, depending on continuity, because I know that in one continuity he's actually like really clumsy when he doesn't have his powers.
In the movies, when he doesn't have powers, the second movie, he's pretty much useless.
Yeah. Oh, there is one thing though that we have to talk about Superman, aka
His
Clark Kent. Well, yeah, but mainly his charisma, because he convinced everyone that just by putting on some glasses, he's a completely different person.
I'd say that that's performance. I think that is... definitely, like, he's got good deceit, but I think after a while, it was just like, no, I'm going to need something else. And then he gets into the acting school just for a little bit, and he gets performance up, and he basically builds on this persona, and he creates this thing. It's like, I need a disguise kit, and all he does is just adds glasses, mimic funny voice, and then just wears suit and tie, and there you go, recipe for disguise.
And also better as well is that people forget he's a journalist, or at least he's not just pretending to be a journalist, he is a journalist. So I think you need some persuasion skills, at least some writing ability, in order to convince some of your pieces to actually get a job in the journalism.
This is why I say pinnacle, because he's not only intelligent and charismatic, but he's also wise. He understands things pretty darn well, and he learns pretty darn quickly of other people's cultures, and he also helps others understand his own without sort of creating a negative narrative for either of them. unless of obviously he's, seeing the very immediate negative of that particular situation being showcased.
Get all his robots he made.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I keep forgetting that he
Remember,
actually
he has-
made them.
You have to remember he is like a genius, believe it or not. He may not show it a lot of time, but he is meant to be beyond like his Fortress of Solitude. He did make a lot of inventions using Kryptonian technology.
Mm.
Or like him and very weird gizmos.
That's still crazy.
If I remember correctly, I'm not sure if he made the Phantom Zone weapon, like the Phantom Zone creator.
Depends
device.
on continuity, because I know that the Phantom Zone creator at first was supposed to be something that he designed, and then in other ones it's actually not what he designed, but he does. It's like it's just the Phantom Zone is something that the Kryptonians built, but he then weaponizes it as an actual prison device because they used it as a prison device, but he eventually salvages the technology to actually create it as a portable gun-like thing. Again, so in this particular case, it would be at this point that we're talking more about the trades and the proficiencies. How would you have to go about it, and what would you need? I'd say hand to hand, kind of an obvious. SPMA, again, kind of obvious. I'd say obviously performance, definitely. And then I'd say tech, because of just,
Yeah.
he can
You
build
need some
robots.
tech.
Like, I mean, proficiency in tech, definitely. I'd then say martial arts, willpower of mind, definitely, because he learns Quasum Rao and Quasum Ro, which are the special martial arts. One is based on physical martial arts, the other one is mental martial arts, which enables him to sort of help negate certain people's ability of telepathic attacks. So again, willpower, path, mind techniques that helps him, defend himself against telepathic abilities. Again, as I said, martial arts, which would be under that. So again, I think that's about, what is that, about like 6 trades?
It's really what other trades you would. You'd have to have
I
something
mean,
in journalism.
I'm gonna get hate for saying this, but animal handling for Crypto the Superdog.
Yes,
he
does. He has.
Would hate
every
to
animal
say,
he comes across, he knows how to handle.
I would hate to say no for that, but let's be frank. If you wanted to play as a character, and we do say this, by the way, this is an official thing that we say. If you want to start with an animal or a creature, you have to have a minimum of 1 level in animal handling. So technically, that means that if he has, if you're looking at it from a perspective of, Superman has a dog and it is basically his pet and it's from his homeworld, technically means that someone made a character with that as the class and just went, yeah, I'll have a level in animal handling. Well, actually, this is my dog from my home planet, and the DM's just looking up from his notes, going, "I'm sorry, what did you just say to me?" I just allowed you to be overpowered,
do that.
And you've now got an animal that is also from this realm of overpowered beings. Thank you.
You're forgetting all his other animal friends, like
Exactly.
Beppo the super monkey.
I
remember there was a super horse. There was a bunch of super animals.
Again, this
God,
sounds
yeah.
like pre-Crisis.
I mean, yeah, Crisis more or less the actual Crisis event killed off a lot of those, or just kind of made them like not stop talking about them. It was the same thing that killed off Supergirl, because like the last son of Krypton doesn't really work anymore. Because there was like monkeys, animals, people.
Yeah. Well, either way, so yeah, I'd say that. So what we saying? Hand to hand martial arts, performance, animal handling. willpower path of the mind, and then SPMA. So that's 7. No, 6.
Uh,
and tech.
I'm
So
trying to think
7.
of. Trying to think if there's anything else I can think of that is distinctly Superman. Leadership? Or
Again, that would fall under
Leadership-
performance or charisma, to be fair. I think we've got it all, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought of another downside, presumably as well. You know, if you were going to do with any contributes, it could have that an added effect of taking damage from kryptonite / animite. Is that you also go a bit crazy as well? Like you get like an ailment which is just sort of like mental, make it mental damage, where basically you have the whole thing where the Superman movies where he just goes off the rails and stuff.
I guess
with
the
the
way
kryptonite
way that you could do it is that, like, because this is something that Sam and I did, where it's like if you were within like 5 meters of it, you would start taking periodical damage or be nullified. Not nullified, dampened, where like your powers were half as effective. Once you're actually within, I think, 1 meter of it / touching it, it basically means that your powers are gone. Or at least so heavily dampened that you basically might as well not have them, and you're taking more damage even more periodically. If it is used as a weapon against you, as in it hits you or deals damage to you, the multiplier is relatively quite high. And on top of all of that, I think it's like any injury based on it, it cannot be healed for until like multiple days, even if you do have some kind of healing ability. No other ability can heal you easily from it, unless if it is like something that is not a natural form of healing. So it wouldn't, probably even biokinetics wouldn't be able to heal it. It would actually have to be something like a Phoenix user who could heal it that way, because their healing technically counts as non-natural healing. But yeah, I guess that's another way that you could also do it. I also completely forgot about his healing power, but again, this is more of a side ability, because again, as I said, the main 6 things are strength, durability, flight, speed, heat vision,
what
and
are you
then
talking about?
super size. In certain iterations, Superman has a healing factor whilst he's in the sun. His power overflows and it actually heals wounds.
Yeah, I suppose he did get nuked once and then just touched sunflowers and he got his powers back.
That one was done. But what I mean is,
pretty priceless.
That happened. No, that happened. That was in like the Batman: The Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, I mean, there's also
a good comic.
There's also yeah. So it can happen in any comic. No, but there is actually one where he actually has got like loads of cuts and bruises, and basically like his body is really severely damaged, and then the sunlight comes over him and all of them are healed within a matter of seconds. That doesn't always work though, because obviously there have been injuries and wounds that he can't heal from. But another particular one that always reminds me of it is there's a fight. No, there's one in what's it called? There's a couple of episodes in the Justice League where Superman gets beamed to the future, where Vandal Savage basically destroys the world. And he's the only one who's left there. And Superman, because it's under a red sun, gets injured and he can't heal and he has no powers. And the entire time he has these scars, cuts, bruises, and he keeps these scars all over his arms. And then when he returns, it is nighttime and he still has a little bit of power and super strength back. But in the next episode, he doesn't have any of those scars or cuts or anything. I mean, yeah, this is kind of the whole thing of like, it's a kid's show and its continuity doesn't always stick. But in that show, they did try to be relatively quite good about things like that. Like actually having it that characters did, if they died, stay dead for at least some amount of time, or if they got injured, their injuries would actually exist for a while, rather than just, oh yeah, they are healed and it's fine in the next episode. So with Superman actually having that was actually one show of it. There have been a couple of different iterations in movies where he does straight up heal from injuries. It's not massively a great healing factor, but it's enough to be dangerous. I think that's pretty much it, to be fair.
Yeah. I mean, you could just say that he has like he has like a unique attribute that he has Lois Lane to call on. I don't know how you do that. It's like I was gonna say animal handling, but no.
At that point, I don't think so, because I feel like that's more like an NPC is in his backstory, or another actual playable character that they're sort of connected to each other in some way. Yeah. For instance,
fair enough. I thought I was taking the Mickey. Well, I was taking the Mickey just then.
I know what you mean, but like as in all fairness, I was thinking, is there anything else that could actually fit it? And then when you said yes, actually there is one, I was like, is there? And you said Lois Lane, I was like, okay, here we go. Yeah, no.
Definitely his bromance with Bruce Wayne, where he can get anything bad happens that needs money, suddenly bam, it's all okay.
Again, though, that's the equivalent of like what happened with you guys in some of your crazy things, where it's like, oh man, we had like in the Huskonia arc that you guys had way back when it was like, we don't, we're all damaged, we're all injured, we have no idea how we're going to be able to heal ourselves or get through this situation. Oh, hang on a second, the Soul family, who's basically multi-billionaires, like, can basically patch us up.
It's literally I know a guy, but with a millionaire.
Yes,
that's what it is.
I still to this
I know
day
Batman.
I know Batman. Yeah, it's well. There's you know what? There's that thing that Bruce Wayne can actually be sitting there, and someone's like, like, oh, no. Well, no. Okay, no. The best way to explain this, Jimmy Olsen's like, haha. Well, I know someone who's watching out for me above the skies, basically calling upon Superman, like as if he's calling the righteous hand of God, and then like Superman goes, oh no, this is going to cost billions. Well, luckily I know a very rich investor who is definitely interested. And then obviously you then have Bruce Wayne who's sitting there getting, about to get mugged. Well, luckily I know myself.
I know what you could call this perk as well. G'day, Bruce.
Bloody hell. Well,
I mean, we only brought him along for his money.
Basically.
I mean, yeah, do they need him most of the time? No.
They let him fight a few bad guys to make him feel better, but he's rich. He's got the money for all.
He built a tar in space, for God's sake.
Yes, he did do that.
Yes, he did.
Nevertheless, that has been the episode of how you can make Superman in Animite Tales. If you didn't like this, obviously leave us a dislike. If you did like it, well, leave us a like. What are you doing? Do it now! Also, don't forget to share and subscribe at the Animite Tales. You can also follow me on Twitter at Animite Tales, or you can annoy Alex at Obscuricom.
Yes, you can. You will, in fact, annoy me.
If you would like to watch... If you would like to watch any of the videos that we were talking about earlier, such as our streams, where we stream campaigns, such as The Crucible of Avarice, a tournament-based campaign, or even our villain campaign, known as the Villain Campaign. Yes, that's actually what it was called. I was very inventive. Or you can have a look at some of our other podcasts, such as the other workshops, where we discuss how to make the Avatar, Darth Vader, or even Deadpool in Animite Tales. And finally, why don't you check out the other playlist known as the Power Podcast, where we talk about superpowers and other things similar to this, but we actually just mostly talk about and discuss how it works either in Animite Tales or even our own opinions of it in fiction. Thank you very much for watching this. Have a wonderful night.
Bye!
See you in the future.
And as always, ciao ciao for now.